this is really an opportunity for the marine world to flex their muscles a little bit, roll out new products, try new setups, and we saw a lot of that this weekend. We saw a lot of records broken, so we'll take it right from the top. This year's Shootout, all eyes were on the 8-time reigning Top Gun American Ethanol, of course the 51-foot Mystic powerboat, the Cat owned by Don Onken and Mystic Boats. They had a new setup. I talked with Don on Thursday. The Onkens and the American Ethanol team, they were nice enough to give Lake TV the exclusive as they arrived to Captain Ron's on the Polylift Boat Lifts dock, and that was incredible. They were firing up their new engines, and they've never run Mercuries before up until this year.
Wow.
And their new setup was with what Don called 2x Mercury hot rod. They had extra blowers, and Tony called it a quad cam overhead valve engine with a 1350 bottom in each one with monster Pro Chargers on each side.
Wow.
The new engine program produced a total of 5,000 horsepower, and it's the first time, like I said, they've ever run a Mercury, and on their first run Saturday, broke both lower belts on each side. You could see as we slowed down our run, they flew off the boat, but that didn't stop them from running 2:14, a new course record on their first run. The crowd went crazy, the viewers went crazy, and it is their second best ever time at the Shootout. They went 2:17 back in 14, which we'll tell you about in a minute. Now, that's their 9th consecutive Top Gun ever, the fastest time ever run on a 3/4 of a mile course. And they did go again that day. Their second pass only went 186 and then shut her down. But when you start with 2:14, pretty easy, right?
Pretty tough to beat that, yeah.
So I'm amazed though that you've got Top Gun 8 years in a row and you come in with a new system. That is amazing. And then you top what you did before.
And here's what's really cool. I asked Tony Badiato and Don Onken if we may see more speed than 2:14 in 24. Here's what they had to say.
Question, I noticed on your 214-mile run, those two belts blew out. So something tells me you guys might have even left a couple of miles on the course. So can we see a bigger speed in the next couple of years?
Absolutely, absolutely.
We hope so. We'd like to run in the 220s, you know.
And so I'm already fired up about 24 because there's no doubt in my mind that with Don Onken and his inability to slow down when it comes to spending money and rigging that boat up, there is no expense they won't spend. I mean, it's unbelievable. And when you have John Kosker and Tony Badiato working on the rig as well, I'm pretty confident that they're gonna top that. And it just makes it so much more exciting because here we are the week after the Shootout and I'm like, is it Shootout time yet? Because I cannot wait. And that wasn't the only boat that there were a lot of eyes on coming into this weekend. Dirty Duck had a phenomenal weekend. Slug Hefner's 43-foot skater Cat rocking a pair of 2,000 horsepower Brumman engines. He runs with Performance Boat Center Myrick Coyle, heard of him? And Rusty Williams. They ran his boat for him, which is pretty wild. A lot of ties here we're going to talk about. They went 187 on Saturday, which was impressive. I talked with Rusty Saturday night, and he goes, listen, we can hit 190 in that boat. I was so impressed with once we got up on plane how it was running. He goes, I think we can hit 190. And so on their run Sunday, 194, Chris.
Wow.
Listen, it's the second fastest time of the weekend, and it's only the second boat to ever run 190 plus on that 3/4 a mile course. You can absolutely tell how big of a deal this was. We talked with Slug, we talked with Rusty. They were both really, really fired up. But here's what's really cool, Chris, about that. Dirty Duck came in and Slug was kind of throwing a little bit of a little bit of heat, a little bit of shade, saying, listen, we're gonna come for American Ethanol. In the back of his boat, he has a 217 mile per hour decal. And if that makes sense, you remember in 2014, American Ethanol run 217. Guess who was in that boat with John Kosker?
Who?
Slug Hefner.
Really?
In 2014.
Wow.
So he was in the American Ethanol team. And then in 2015, another tie, Myrick Coyle ran with John Kosker in the American Ethanol boat, going 208. So incredible ties together when it comes to the American Ethanol team and Slug Hefner and now the Dirty Duck boat. But I'm telling you what, they said as well, we have some miles to go. This is going to be a competition. And I asked Slug, I was like, so are you going to come and are you going to compete with American Ethanol for Top Gun? And he goes, that's the hope.
Yeah.
So that makes it exciting because now you have two guys that are pretty close, have run together, have worked together. They're going to kind of be competing, but I don't know who is going to be able to rig a system to go over 214 miles per hour.
Well,
on
and
a
then you got
3/4 mile
Performance
course.
Boat Center right here. You know they're trying to figure out a way to, get up there, do something like
No
that.
disrespect,
so-
there's no way an MTI or a CAT is going to be capable on 3/4 of a mile going from 40 to 214 miles per hour. Now, speaking of Myrick Coyle, he had a crazy busy weekend, Chris. He ran, of course, with Dirty Duck, like
Yep.
I told you. Also ran with MCon Racing, Tyler Miller in the kilos, and they also ran in the their super stock in the or the super cat in the regular run on Saturday. But he didn't stop there. He also raced with Rusty in the S21 fast diesel super stock boat, as well as ran the brand new Performance 420 that we got to look at Thursday before the shootout. That's a 420, which is a 42-foot cat with twin 500 horsepower Mercuries, and he ran that against an airplane in the air show both Saturday and Sunday.
I saw that. That was cool, man.
So Myrick had a crazy busy weekend and continues to further himself ahead as, in my opinion, the greatest name in all of professional speedboat or powerboat racing. And so that was a good weekend. Now, one of the craziest things that happened, you remember the electric boat?
Yeah.
The last couple of years?
Yep.
They ran 109 last year, setting a world record, which blew a lot of people away because they started with something small like 36 and then 47, and it was like, okay, that's cool. But the 109 was wild, and they came in. Alex Mongen, the owner of VMT, partnered with Sean Tarenti and Sean Tarenti Racing. Now, Sean's a 3-time world champion racer in his own right, to introduce their custom-built carbon fiber hull S2 powerboats. Now, the Canadian-based team showed off their 32-foot Hellcats powerboats Cat. It set a new world record, ripping 111 the first time. Now, they weren't done. They ran again on Saturday and hit 116, and that was breaking their own record. So that's the mark for the most speed ever brought on water by an electric boat. And driver Sean Connor, throttle Sean Tarente, and owner Alex Mongen, they said they've got some miles to go, and they're already working on their setup for 2024. So that's going to be something to watch. Other records, factory billet, driver and owner Jim Schultz and throttleman, and engine builder Mike Focher, they were in their 51-foot outer limits V-bottom. Now in 22, they had set the shootout course record for the fastest V-bottom at 166. And on day one, that 162 was good, but they had their sights set on 170 for Sunday, and they were in a little bit of a V-bottom battle with shootout favorite, father-son duo Dennis and Jason Parvey, who run an open cockpit 43-foot Black Thunder. Now they hit the impressive 166 on Saturday, tying the mark for the most impressive run in shootout history for a V-bottom on a 3/4 mile course. However, on day two, factory billet didn't just break the record, Chris, they smashed it. Schultz and Focher hit 184 miles an hour, crushing their best mark by 18 miles per hour, surprising everyone in attendance and watching around the world. And that was one of the most impressive runs of the weekend.
When you break a record, if you do it by that large of a margin, holy cow, that's amazing.
They felt good about 170, which had never been done up until that point in time, and they just ran a cool, clean, calm 184. Now we're going to stick with the father-son duo. We told you about the Parveys, who their best time was 166. That's their best run ever and super fast for a V-bottom. But father-son duo Corey and Joe Purig took home the top speed for outboard powered cats on the weekend in their 36-foot Doug Wright catamaran, of course powered by twin 450s. They ran 130 on Saturday and topped that going 134 on their only pass on Sunday. It's the second consecutive year the duos won their class, with Corey being the youngest driver in the shootout a year ago. I got to text with Corey's mom, Marcy Crawford, who was incredibly proud of her son, and as she should be. Another name you'll recognize, Rob Morgan, son of the late Bob Morgan, the event's Hall of Fame namesake, drove Freedom Jr. and hit 102 miles per hour. It's incredibly impressive considering it's a 28-foot skater powered by twin 300s. He wouldn't even take, then he would take a pass of 96 with his son RP and 93 with his daughter Shelby. And the cool thing is, the boat Freedom Jr. used to belong to Jim Lee, who was a racing teammate of Rob's father, Bob. and Jim told Rob it was time for the boat to come home,
Yep.
and that's why I had it. Then for Rob to hit 102 along with 96 and 93 with the kiddos was something special. I know Jim Lee had to love that, and I guarantee you, Chris, that Bob Morgan was smiling down as it all unfolded. One of the cooler moments from the shootout this weekend. Now, our friend Mike Mawson,
Yep.
you know, he runs that cigarette. He repowered and put new drives in his 0442 cigarette featuring 3 565s.
Wow.
He had topped 93 previously and was really hoping to hit that mark again. His first run, he hit 93 with his son Ryan in the boat.
Wow.
Then they'd go 94 on consecutive runs for a new PR for Mike. And of course, Mike, one of the most familiar faces with the Lake of the Ozarks shootout. Texas-based Team Yahoo with owner-driver Curtis Morris teamed up with throttleman Jammin' Jones in their 40-foot Skater Cat. That boasts twin 2,000 horsepower, boost power USA engines. They ran 175 Saturday and then 180 on Sunday. What a solid weekend for Team Yahoo. Another one, Carolyn Doris, the matriarch of females racing in the shootout. She spent her first shootout without her late husband, Jim Doris, who of course was the founder of Playcraft Boats and the first person to ever bring a pontoon to run in the shootout back in '95. That year he ran at 46, and the rest is history because he's the one that started it. Now, Jim ran his last shootout in 2002 and was honored at this year's event. Carolyn continued the tradition of running every single year. She's won Top Gun in her class every year but one since '98, and she rocked it another year this year. Their son David, he ran 72 and 74, and their grandson JT has been known to run as well. Every year, the Doris family are one of the most iconic families in shootout history. Carolyn, we love you, and we know that Jim was watching all the action unfold with the best seat in the house. Now, another female that credits Carolyn for getting started, Carrie Six Killer. She is a fan favorite who started racing back in 2007. And again, she credits Carolyn for getting her interested. And she said what's great is you go around the country and you compete with the women. The Lake of the Ozarks shootout, it gives you an opportunity to compete with the celebrities, the big names in racing. And Carrie loves it so much, she's kind of become a favorite of the professional racers, where she's kind of a celebrity in her own right. She's certainly a fan favorite among shootout friends, fans, and volunteers. Her and her husband Ron were actually one of the first people Unique and I trusted to hold Brindley at the 2021 shootout, which was Brindley's first shootout. Now, Six Killer ran 64 and 65 this weekend, making it 17 consecutive years at the shootout. Now, the kilo races happened, was not super familiar with what that was. I know it was a timed event, loop wrap. There were 12 teams set to run, and for Tyler Miller in Class 1 Monster Energy, IMCON, in their 2023 Skater 438 Cat, they set a world record because no one per APBA had ever attempted it with Class 1 credentials. And so I know their average speed was like 147 on that run, which was incredibly impressive. And they had a good weekend as a whole. IMCON Racing and Monster Energy, as owner throttle Tyler Miller, ran 131 Saturday with Myrick Coyle in their Super Cat Class Skater 388. And then in the Class 1 Monster Energy IMCON Skater 438 with Monster Energy's Casey Van Kuren. Did you see that?
Yeah,
How cool is that?
That's
She's
amazing.
the Monster Energy Motorsports manager. Never driven anything faster than a pontoon in her life. And Tyler's like, hey, do you want to run the boat? And she's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And so she ran 133 the first time, and she got done, and she was on cloud 9, and Tyler looks over at her and goes, you want to go again? And she's like, are you serious? So they did, and she topped it by a mile. You can check out a really cool feature with Casey Van Buren along with Rayleigh on Speedboat Magazine. And you'll probably notice that on the Monster Energy and IMCON racing boats this weekend, Lake TV's logo was all over.
Right there, baby.
We were really excited and thankful for the opportunity. Partner with Tyler Miller, IMCON Racing, and Monster Energy. Spent some time with them going into the event Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. Just a crazy, nice people. So thankful for that, and that did a lot for Lake TV. Of course, Tyler Miller, we were at his dock, his wife Lindsay, the Monster team with Casey Van Cure, and the Monster Energy girls. Just can't say enough good about them. And that's an incredible, both of those boats are incredible, not just the Super Cat, but the Class 1 43 is wow.
Yeah, the whole weekend was fantastic. But we went in wondering how American Ethanol was going to do. They topped what they've done before. They were incredible. Monster was just beyond an amazing. My recoil, I mean, the Dirty Duck, it was just a great week of racing, no doubt about it.
And to top things off, you know, we rolled out this year for the first time the Lake TV and Shootout Yamaha PWC racing team, and that was pretty exciting because for the third consecutive year, James Myers took Top Gun. If you didn't see the father-son duo of Mike and James Myers and their story heading into Shootout, James ran 96, didn't hit 100 like he's hoping for, but he's confident they'll figure that out for next year. His father, Mike, won second with a time of 88, and Kristen Jagorchek, she went 84, and all three of those were on the back of a Shootout Yamaha Wave Runner, and all three were part of the Lake TV Shootout Yamaha PWC racing team. So in our first year, a clean podium sweep. How about that, baby?
You can't beat that, can you? That's about as good as you can get.
Incredibly proud of James, Mike, and Kristen for their performance and their incredible representation of us here at Lake TV and Shootout Yamaha. Thank you guys for your effort. But that's a wrap on Shootout, but I'm telling you, we got to give a shout out to Lake Ozark Real Estate, broker associate Jonathan Hartenstein. Just phenomenal what he was able to do.